The ship New Dawn dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. Captain Kim Day felt his stomach twist as the artificial gravity caught up with reality. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with practiced calm. Status report. Day called out, settling into his command chair. "All systems green, Captain," replied Nari from the pilot's seat. "Ah!" Her hands moved across the controls like she was playing piano. "We're at the edge of the target system. Long-range sensors are picking up something big." Chief Engineer Park Jun looked up from his console. "Energy readings are off the charts, Captain. Whatever's out there, it's not natural." Dr. Choi Hannah, the ship's xenobiologist, turned from her science station. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple artificial structures. This system is definitely inhabited." Day nodded. This was what they had come for. Earth's first deep space exploration ship sent. To make contact with alien life, they had traveled further from home than any human before them. "Put it on screen," Day ordered. The main display flickered to life, showing a massive space station floating in the void. It was dark and angular, covered in spikes and weapon ports. Smaller ships moved around it like insects around a hive. "That's not friendly architecture," Nari muttered. Before anyone could respond, the communications console beeped. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking in a language that sounded like gravel being crushed. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Vorthok space. Identify yourself or be destroyed." Hannah's fingers flew over her console. "The computer is working on translation, Captain. Give it a moment." The voice came again, this time in broken but understandable English. "You will respond now or face consequences." Day stood up. "Open a channel." "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Kim Day of the Terran vessel New Dawn. We come in peace, seeking contact with your civilization." There was a long pause, and the voice responded, colder than before. "Terran, unknown species. You will prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in destruction." 3 massive ships detached from the station and began moving toward the New Dawn. Each one was twice the size of the human ship, bristling with weapons. Captain Jun said quietly, "Their weapons are charging." "They're not here to talk," Nari added, her hand hovering over the navigation controls. Day looked at his crew. They were scared, but they trusted him. "Any sign of other ships in the system?" "Negative, Captain. Just the station and those 3 ships." "What about escape routes? I can plot a course back to the hyperspace jump point, but it will take us right past those ships." Day thought quickly. Standard first contact protocol said to avoid conflict at all costs. But these aliens were not following the same rules. They seemed to think humans would just surrender. "Hannah, what can you tell me about their ships?" "They're old designs, Captain. Very old, but powerful. They use plasma-based weapons and heavy armor, built for intimidation." "Any weaknesses?" "Their weapon systems generate enormous heat. They probably have to cycle their firing to avoid overheating." Day smiled grimly. "June, what's our reactor status?" "Running hot, Captain. We've got excess energy from the hyperspace jump. Can you route that energy to our waste heat system?" Eyes widened. "You want to weaponize our garbage disposal? I want to survive first contact?" The lead alien ship was getting closer. Its weapons were almost in range. "Nari, prepare for evasive maneuvers. When I give the signal, I want you to take us straight at the lead ship." "Captain, that's suicide. Trust me." The communications crackled again. "Terran ship, cut your engines and prepare for boarding. This is your final warning." They looked at his crew one more time. "Here we go, Nari. Execute." The New Dawn suddenly accelerated directly toward the lead alien ship. The massive vessel, not expecting such a move, hesitated for a crucial second. "June, dump the heat." Now. The human ship's waste heat vents opened wide, releasing a cloud of superheated plasma directly at the alien vessel. The cloud struck the ship's sensors and forward weapons, causing systems to overload. Hardport Day shouted narrow, threw the ship sideways, using the alien vessel's bulk as cover from the other 2 ships. The New Dawn's smaller size and better maneuverability gave it the advantage in close quarters. "Second ship is coming around," Nari reported. Same trick won't work twice, June warned. Then we'll try something new. Hannah, can you jam their communications? Working on it, Captain. The second alien ship opened fire. Plasma bolts flashed past the New Dawn's hull, but Nara's piloting kept them clear. Got it, Hannah announced. They can't coordinate anymore, June? How's our reactor? Still running hot? I can give you one more heat dump, but after that we're running on fumes. The third ship was moving to intercept them. Soon they would be caught between all three vessels. Nari, plot a course for the hyperspace point. Best speed. That will take us right through their formation. I know. The New Dawn accelerated again, heading for the gap between the second and third ships. The aliens, unable to communicate with each other, fired wildly to avoid hitting their own vessels. Heat dump on the third ship, Day ordered. Another cloud of superheated plasma struck the third vessel, blinding its sensors. The ship fired blindly, its shots going wide. Hyperspace point in 30 seconds, Nari called out. June, prepare for emergency jump. Captain, we're not supposed to jump this close to a gravity well. Add it to the list of things we're not supposed to do. The lead alien ship, its sensors finally clearing, swung around to block their escape route. Its weapons charged for a killing shot. Jump now, Day shouted. The New Dawn vanished in a flash of blue light, leaving the three alien ships alone in space. Back on the bridge, the crew sat in stunned silence. They had survived first contact, but barely. Captain Hannah said slowly, I don't think they expected us to fight back. No, Day agreed. They expected us to surrender. What now? Nari asked. Day looked at the hyperspace display. They were safe. For now, but the aliens knew about Earth. They would be back. Now we go home and warn everyone. The galaxy just got a lot more dangerous. Or, June said with a grin, we just showed them that humans don't surrender. Same thing, Day replied. Same thing. In the depths of space, the Vorthok ships returned to their station. Admiral Krextall reviewed the battle data with growing concern. The new species had fought unlike anything in his experience. They had used their own waste as a weapon. They had attacked when outnumbered. They had refused to surrender. Krextall sent a priority message to Vorthok High Command. Galaxy had a new player, and they did not follow the established rules. The balance of power was about to shift. 6 months had passed since the New Dawn returned to Earth with news of hostile aliens. The human colonies on the Outer Rim were now heavily defended. But everyone knew it was only a matter of time. Sergeant Yunte checked his weapon one more time as the transport ship approached New Sol Colony. His marine unit had been sent to reinforce the settlement after strange reports started coming in. Ships disappearing, patrols going missing, bodies. No bodies, just empty space where people used to be. Sergeant called Private Kim Swa from across the transport bay. What do we know about these Nexari things? Tay looked at his squad. They were young, most of them fresh from Earth, but they had trained hard for this moment. Intel says they're hunters, perfect ambush predators. They've been doing this for millions of years. How do you hunt something that's been hunting that long? Asked Corporal Lieben. You think like prey, Tay replied. But you act like a predator. The transport shuddered as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the viewports, Tay could see New Sol Colony spread out below. It looked peaceful, but he knew better. The Nexari were already here. On the surface, Dr. Shinyel was studying the enemy in his makeshift lab. The colony's chief scientist had been collecting data on the Nexari attacks for weeks. What he found disturbed him. They're too perfect, he muttered to himself, looking at the holographic display. Every attack is flawless. Every ambush succeeds. They never make mistakes. His assistant, Dr. Park Mia, looked up from her console. Maybe that's the problem. What do you mean? If you never make mistakes, you never learn to adapt. You just keep doing the same thing over and over. Yul paused. His analysis, that's it. They're not hunters. They're programs. It's biological programs that run the same code every time. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt surrounding the colony, something moved in the shadows. The Nexari hunting swarm had been watching the human settlement for days. To them, it was just another collection of prey animals waiting to be harvested. Hive Queen Skrixtal coordinated. Alcuin the attack through bioelectric pulses that connected her mind to every hunter in the swarm. She had conquered hundreds of worlds. This way, the pattern was always the same. Strike fast, strike hard, leave no survivors. The humans would run, just like all the others. They would scatter and hide, making them easier to pick off one by one. It was the natural order of things, but when the attack came, something went wrong. The Nexari struck at dawn, emerging from asteroid caves in perfect formation. They moved like liquid death, their chitinous bodies reflecting the morning light. Each hunter was the size of a shuttle. Armed with razor claws and acid projectors, they hit the colony's outer defenses first. Expecting panicked humans to flee toward the center, instead they found empty buildings and automated defenses that fought back with surprising coordination. "Where are the prey animals?" Skrikstal demanded through the hive link. Her hunters spread through the settlement, searching for cowering humans. They found traps instead, explosive charges hidden in doorways, fake heat signatures leading to ambush points, corridors that became death traps. When the lights went out, the humans were not running. They were hunting. Sergeant Tay watched the alien hunters through his scope, counting their movements. He had positioned his Marines throughout the colony in small teams, each one linked by radio to coordinate their attacks. "Pattern Alpha," he whispered into his comm. "Always check the high ground first, then sweep down. Team 2, move 2. Position." The Nexari were predictable. They had been using the same hunting strategies for so long that they had become instinct. But instinct could be used against them. "Team 3, they're coming your way. Remember, let them pass. We want them." In the center of the trap, the alien hunters moved through the colony like ghosts, but human eyes were watching their every step. When they reached the central square, Tay triggered the ambush. Now, human Marines opened fire from 6 different positions. The Nexari, caught in the open, tried to scatter to their usual hiding spots, but the humans had already blocked those routes. For the first time in their evolutionary history, the Nexari found themselves being hunted. Skrikstal felt the death of her hunters through the hive link. It was impossible. The prey animals were supposed to run, not fight back. They were supposed to be afraid, not angry. "Retreat to the asteroids," she ordered. "Regroup and attack again." But the humans had predicted this too. As the surviving Nexari fled toward their asteroid caves, they found human ships waiting for them. Not warships, but mining vessels equipped with industrial lasers and magnetic grapples. The hunters became the hunted, as human crews used their own environment against them. Asteroids became projectiles. Cave systems became traps. The Nexar found themselves being herded like animals toward a final killing ground. "Dr. Shin, you'll watch the battle from the colony's command center." His analysis had been correct. The Nexari were perfect hunters, but only against prey that behaved predictably. "They're running, Dr. Park," Mia said in amazement. "The galaxy's perfect predators are running away." "No," Yule corrected. "They're learning. For the first time in millions of years, they're being forced to adapt." In space, the last Nexari ship limped away from the asteroid belt. Skrikstal was dying, her bioelectric link to the swarm severed by human weapons. But she was still alive, enough to send one final message to her people. "The prey animals are not prey," she transmitted. "They are something else, something new. Beware the humans." Back on New Sol Colony, Sergeant Tay gathered his Marines in the central square. The day had one, but he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was full of predators, and they would all come for humanity eventually. "How did we do it, Sergeant?" asked Private Kim Swa. "How did we beat perfect hunters?" Tay looked up at the stars, where more alien ships were probably already planning their attacks. "We didn't hunt them like they hunt us. We hunted them like we hunt everything else. How's that?" Patiently. Humans are persistence hunters. We don't need to be the fastest or the strongest. We just need to keep going until the other guy gives up. Corporal Lee Ben grinned. "Think they'll give up?" "Eventually," Tay replied. "The question is how many of them will have to outlast first." In the depths of space, the news of the Nexori defeat spread through the galactic networks. The apex predators had suffered their first major loss in recorded history. The balance of power was shifting, and every species in the galaxy was watching to see what would happen next. The humans had proven they could not be hunted. Now they would have to prove they could survive what came next. The neutral station crossroads floated in the void between star systems, a place where different species could meet safely. It was ancient, built by races that had vanished long ago, and maintained by automated systems that no one fully understood. Ambassador Han Wool walked through the station's central hub, observing the various alien species conducting their business. Tall, ethereal beings glided past him, their forms shifting between solid and energy. These were the Ethereals, the galaxy's puppet masters. Han had been chosen for this mission because of his unusual background. He was a former soldier, a diplomat, and a philosopher. Earth's leaders hoped these different perspectives would help him navigate the complex politics of galactic civilization. Ambassador Han, came a voice that seemed to speak directly into his mind. I am Ethereal Vashanel. Welcome to Crossroads. Han turned to face the being that had approached him. Vashanil appeared as a tall, glowing figure, wrapped in flowing robes that seemed to be made of starlight. Where a face should be, there was only a soft radiance. Thank you for meeting with me, Han replied aloud, refusing to communicate telepathically. I understand you wanted to discuss humanity's place in the galaxy. Indeed, your species has caused quite a disturbance. 2 apex predator races have suffered defeats at your hands. This is unprecedented. They walked together toward a private meeting chamber. Han noticed that other species moved out of Vashanel's way, their eyes showing a mixture of respect and fear. The Ethereals have guided galactic civilization for over 1,000,000 years, Vashanil explained as they entered the chamber. We maintain balance. We prevent wars. We ensure stability. How do you do that? Han asked, settling into a chair designed. For humanoid species, we influence. We guide thoughts. Show beings the logical path forward. Vashanil's form flickered slightly. It is a burden we bear for the greater good. Han nodded, but internally he was troubled. The Ethereal's words seemed reasonable, but something felt wrong. He had trained himself to trust his instincts, and they were screaming warnings. You want to influence humanity too? Han said. It was not a question. We want to help you find your place in the cosmic order. Humans are clearly capable, but you need guidance. You need to learn the rules. What if we don't want to learn your rules? Vashanil's form solidified, becoming more defined. All species must follow the rules. It is the natural order. The strong dominate the weak. The wise guide. The foolish, the old teach the young. And who decides who is strong and who is weak? Nature decides, evolution decides. The apex predators rise to the top because they are meant to rule. Han leaned forward. But we defeated 2 apex predator species. By your logic, that makes us stronger. You used tricks. Deception. You did not win through natural superiority. Since when is intelligence not natural? Vashanil paused, his form flickering again. Han could feel something probing at the edges of his mind, like gentle fingers trying to unlock a door. You are confused, Vashanil said, his mental voice becoming more insistent. Let me help you understand. The mental pressure increased, but Han had been prepared for this. Human minds were chaotic, full of contradictions and random thoughts. He let his mind wander, thinking about his childhood on Earth, his favorite foods, a song his mother used to sing. Vashanil's form wavered. What are you doing? Thinking, Han replied. About everything and nothing. About the color blue and the taste of rain. About why cats purr and whether aliens dream. Focus. You must focus your thoughts. But Han's mind was already spiraling into controlled chaos. He thought about quantum mechanics and ancient poetry. He remembered the smell of his grandmother's kitchen and wondered if mathematics was the same everywhere in the universe. Stop, Vashanil commanded, his form beginning to destabilize. Your thoughts are too scattered, too random. Welcome to the human mind, Han said with a smile. We don't think in straight lines. While Han was meeting with the ethereal engineer, Song Min was in another part of the station, examining alien technology with a small team of human technicians. They had been given permission to study some of the station's less sensitive systems. "This is incredible," Song Min muttered, looking at a holographic display. "The power distribution network is completely integrated. Every system feeds into every other system. It's like a living organism," agreed technician Ruhei. "But look at this subsystem, not being used at all." Song Min followed her pointing finger. There was indeed an entire section of the network that seemed to be offline. "Maybe it's broken? Maybe it's sleeping?" suggested technician Oh-jun. "Like a backup system waiting to be activated." Song Min's eyes lit up. "What if we could wake it up? Is that wise?" Ruhei asked. "We're guests here." "We're also engineers," Song Min replied. "It's our job to fix things." They spent the next hour carefully probing the dormant system, trying to understand its purpose. Slowly, they began to realize what they had found. "It's a communications array," Song Min said excitedly. "But not like any we've seen before. It's designed to broadcast on frequencies that the ethereals can't hear." "Why would someone build a communication system that excludes the ethereals?" Oh-jun asked. "Maybe because they didn't want to be overheard," Ruhei suggested back in the meeting. Chamber Han was still resisting Vashanil's mental probes. The ethereal was becoming increasingly frustrated. "You are making this difficult," Vashanil said. "Other species are more cooperative." "Maybe other species are more predictable," Han replied. "Humans are not. You must be guided. You must be controlled. Your chaos threatens the stability of the galaxy. Our chaos is our strength. We adapt. We improvise. We find solutions that no one else thinks of. Solutions that break the natural order. Maybe the natural order needs to be broken." Vashanil's form suddenly solidified completely, becoming more alien and threatening. "You dare to challenge the way things have always been? I dare to ask why things have to stay the same." "That!" Moment Song Min's voice crackled through Han's communicator. "Ambassador, you need to hear this. We found something." Han stood up, ignoring Vashanil's protests. "What is it?" "The station has a hidden communication system. And it's been recording everything. Every conversation, every meeting, every private moment, for millions of years." Han looked at Vashanil, whose form was now flickering wildly. "You've been spying on everyone. We monitor for the greater good," Vashanil insisted. "Information is necessary for proper guidance." "Information is power," Han corrected. "You've been using that power to manipulate entire civilizations. We maintain order. You prevent chaos. You prevent growth. You prevent change. You prevent species from reaching their full potential." Song Min's voice came through the communicator again. "Ambassador, there's more. The system is designed to suppress certain types of thoughts. It's been broadcasting subliminal messages for eons." Han felt a cold anger building in his chest. "Been controlling their minds. We guide them toward logical decisions. You've been stealing their free will." Han walked toward the chamber's exit. "This meeting is over. You cannot leave," Vashanil said, his form becoming more solid and menacing. "You know, too much. Try to stop me." Vashanil reached out with his mental powers, trying to freeze Han in place. But the human mind was too chaotic, too unpredictable. Han's thoughts scattered in a dozen directions, making it impossible to find a point of control. "This is not over," Vashanil warned as Han reached the door. "No," Han agreed. "It's just beginning." Han left the chamber. He knew that humanity had just made another enemy, but they had also discovered something important. The galaxy's puppet masters were not as powerful as they seemed. They could be resisted. They could be defeated. The balance of power was shifting again, and this time it was shifting toward freedom. The war declaration came as a recorded message broadcast across all human colonies. The image showed a massive creature covered in razor-sharp fur, its eyes burning with predatory intelligence. Scars covered its muzzle, telling stories of countless battles. "I am Alpha Prime Scarfang of the Razorclaw Pax," the creature growled. "Your species has disrupted the natural order. You have defeated our competitors through trickery and chaos. This ends now." Marine Colonel Kongbo watched the message from his command center on Frontier Station. Around him, his staff officers studied tactical displays, showing the largest pack alliance in galactic history moving toward human space. "How many ships?" Kongbo asked. "Over 3,000, replied Major Imhai. "They've united every pack in 3 sectors. This is unprecedented." "What do we know about their tactics?" "Pack hunters. They surround their prey, cut off escape routes, then attack from all sides. They're used to fighting individually strong opponents, but not coordinated." "Groups." Kongbo nodded. The Razor Claws were making the same mistake as the others. They assumed humans would fight like every other species they had conquered. "Send a message to all human colonies and allied forces," he ordered. "Tell them it's time." To form the big pack, 6 hours later, something impossible happened. Ships began arriving at Frontier Station from across the galaxy. Not just human ships, but Vorthok vessels, Nexari scouts, and even some ethereal defectors. Captain Kim Day, now promoted to admiral, brought his fleet of former Vorthok ships. Reptilian crews had learned to work alongside humans after their defeat years ago. They brought their advanced weapons technology and tactical knowledge. Commander Zektar, a Vorthok who had lost his homeworld to the Razor Claws, stood beside Kongbo in the command center. "Your species continues to surprise us, Colonel. We would never have allied with former enemies. Why not?" Kongbo asked. "The past is past. What matters is the future. The Razor Claws destroyed my colony, killed my family, yet here I stand. Ready to die for humans? You're not dying for humans. You're fighting for the idea that things can change." A new voice joined the conversation. It was Skrikstal, the Nexari queen who had survived the battle at New Soul Colony. Her chitin was marked with scars, but her eyes held intelligence instead of mindless hunger. "My people have learned much from our defeat," she said through a translation device. "We understand now that perfect hunters can become perfect prey. We choose to learn instead of die." Kongbo looked at the strange alliance forming around him. Species that had been enemies for millions of years were working together. It should have been impossible. Colonel Major Imhai called out. "Long-range sensors are picking up the Razor Claw fleet. They'll be here in 6 hours. All ships, prepare for battle," Kongbo announced. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for the right to choose our own path." The Razor Claw fleet arrived like a storm of claws and fury. Alpha Prime Scarfang led from the front, his massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. Behind him came pack after pack of warships, each one designed for close combat. Spread out, Scarfang ordered his fleet. Surround them, cut off their retreat. Show them what happens when prey forgets its place. But as the Razor Claw ships moved to encircle the human position, they found something unexpected. The defenders were not trying to escape. Instead, they were moving to meet the attack head-on. "They're not running," reported pack leader Fangslash. "They're advancing." "Possible," Scarfang growled. "Prey animals always run when faced with superior numbers." Alpha Prime, their formations are strange. The different species are working together. Vorthok ships are protecting human vessels. Nexari scouts are coordinating with both. Scarfang, eyes narrowed. This was not how battles were supposed to work. Each species should fight alone, defending only their own kind. The battle began with a coordinated assault by the human alliance. Vorthok ships used their heavy weapons to break Razor Claw formations while human vessels exploited the gaps. Nexari scouts provided real-time intelligence, allowing the defenders to predict and counter every pack tactic. "They fight as one organism," Fangslash reported in amazement. "How is this possible? Break their unity," Scarfang ordered. "The weak links. Force them to abandon each other." But when Razor Claw ships focused fire on damaged Vorthok vessels, human ships moved to protect them. When Nexari scouts were threatened, both humans and Vorthok came to their aid. Colonel Kongbo watched the battle from his command ship, coordinating the defense with calm precision. "Pack leader Skrikstal, your scouts report 3 Razor Claw packs. Trying to flank our left wing, we see them, Colonel. Moving to intercept." "Admiral Day, can your Vorthok allies handle the center thrust?" "Already on it." Commander Zektar has a personal score to settle with Scarfang. The battle raged for hours. The Razor Claws had superior numbers and individual ship strength, But they had never faced an enemy that fought as a unified whole. Every time they tried to isolate and destroy individual ships, the entire alliance would shift to protect the threatened vessels. "This is impossible," Scarfang roared as his fleet took heavy casualties. "They should be betraying each other by now. Fear should make them abandon their weakest members." "Alpha Prime," Fangslash said quietly. "What if fear is not their primary emotion?" "What do you mean?" "What if they actually care about each other?" Scarfang's worldview cracked. In his understanding, alliances were temporary things based on mutual benefit. When the cost became too high, allies would always abandon each other. But these species were fighting harder to protect their allies than to protect themselves. "Packs withdraw to secondary positions," he ordered. "Need to reassess." But as the Razorclaw fleet tried to retreat, they found themselves being pursued by an enemy that had no intention of letting them escape. The human alliance had learned something important. Mercy was not weakness if it came from a position of strength. "Alpha Prime," came a transmission from the human fleet. "This is Colonel Kongbo. We're willing to discuss terms." "Terms?" Scarfang was confused. "You're winning? Why would you negotiate?" "Because we don't want to destroy you. We want to change you." "Change us into what?" "Into allies. Into partners. Into something better than you were before." Scarfang looked at his scattered fleet, then at the organized formation of his enemies. For the first time in his life, he understood that there might be something more powerful than the law of fang and claw. "What do you want from us?" "We want you to stop hunting the weak. We want you to protect them instead." "It goes against everything we are." "Then become something new. Join us." The Alpha Prime of the Razorclaw pack sat in silence, considering an offer that should have been impossible to accept. Around him, his pack leaders waited for orders that would determine the fate of their species. "We will consider your terms," he finally said. The battle was over, but the real victory was just beginning. Another apex predator had learned that there was more to existence than domination. The galaxy was changing, one species at a time. Dr. Lim Sora finished her research report in the quiet hours before dawn. Around her, the research station hummed with activity as scientists from dozens of species worked together on projects that would have been impossible just years ago. Her study was groundbreaking, the first comprehensive analysis of predator-prey relationships in galactic civilization. The results would change how every species understood their place in the universe. "The apex predators are evolutionary dead ends," she dictated to her computer. "They have perfected their hunting abilities to such a degree that they cannot adapt to new challenges. They are prisoners of their own success." Her assistant, Dr. Cho Wan, looked up from his data analysis. "Are you sure about this conclusion?" "Going to upset a lot of people." "The evidence is clear. Look at the Vorthok. They spent millions of years perfecting their intimidation tactics. But when faced with humans who refused to be intimidated, they had no backup plan. What about the next Sari? Same thing. Perfect. Ambush predators who had never learned to hunt, prey that hunted them back. They were so specialized that they couldn't adapt." Sora stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The galaxy has been stagnant for eons because the apex predators maintained an artificial balance. They kept everyone else weak and afraid. And now humans have changed that? Not just humans. All of us working together. The Vorthok who chose to ally with us. The Nexari who learned to cooperate instead of just hunt. Even some of the Razor Claws are changing. One pulled up a holographic display showing trade routes across the galaxy. The economic data supports your theory. Traditional trade patterns are collapsing. Species that were never allowed to develop are suddenly thriving because they're not afraid anymore. When you remove the threat of apex predators, incredible things become possible. But not everyone was happy about the changes. In the depths of space, the 3 remaining apex predator factions were holding an emergency meeting. Never before had such different species attempted to work together. The meeting took place on a neutral asteroid, far from any star system. Vorthok Admiral Krextel represented his species' hardliners. Nexari Hive Queen Vexandra spoke for the traditional hunting swarms. Razorclaw Alpha Prime Scarfang led the packs that refused to change. "The humans have corrupted our own people," Krextel growled. Vorthok's ships fight alongside human vessels. They've forgotten their superiority. My hunters report similar problems, Vexandra added. Young Nexari are refusing to participate in traditional hunts. They want to explore and learn instead of kill. The natural order is collapsing, Scarfang agreed. If we do not act soon, our species will become extinct through peaceful integration. What do you propose? Destroy the source of the infection. We attack their homeworld. We show the galaxy what happens when prey forgets its place. The three apex predators began planning the largest military operation in galactic history. They would combine their fleets, their technologies, and their knowledge to crush humanity once and for all. But their planning was interrupted by an unexpected visitor. A figure in flowing robes materialized in the asteroid's meeting chamber. It was ethereal Vashanil, though his form was more solid and desperate than before. I offer you alliance, he said without preamble. Ethereals have already failed, Krextol pointed out. Your mind control does not work on humans, which is why we need a different approach. It's physical destruction instead of mental domination. What do you bring to this alliance? Information? The location of every human world? The strength of their defenses? The timing of their patrols? We have been watching them for months. Vexandra leaned forward. What do you want in return? The restoration of the old order? The return of stability? The end of chaos? Scarfang bared his fangs in what might have been a smile. Agreed, but know this. Ethereal. When the humans are destroyed, we will remember who really ruled the galaxy before they arrived. The natural order will be restored, Vashanil assured him. The strong will dominate the weak, as it should be. Back on Earth, warnings were coming in from human colonies across the galaxy. Long-range sensors detected massive fleet movements. Intelligence reports spoke of secret meetings between apex predator species. Admiral Kim Day stood in the war room of Earth's orbital command station, studying the tactical displays. The enemy was coming, and they were bringing everything they had. How long until they arrive, he asked. 72 hours, replied Colonel Kangbo. Maybe less if they push their engines. Can we evacuate the civilian population? Not enough time, and nowhere to run. They'll have surrounded the entire solar system. Dr. Lim Sora entered the war room, her research pad in hand. I've been analyzing their probable strategy. They're going to try to make an example of Earth. Show the galaxy what happens when you challenge the apex predators. Any good news? Day asked. Actually, yes. They're making the same mistake they always make. They're assuming we'll fight like every other species they've conquered. What do you mean? They expect us to defend Earth directly, to put all our ships around our homeworld and fight a desperate last stand. Aren't we? Sora smiled. Not if we're smart about it. We've learned something important from our allies. Sometimes the best way to protect something is to let it seem vulnerable. You're suggesting we let them attack Earth? I'm suggesting we let them think they're attacking Earth. Day and Kong Bo exchanged glances. Another impossible human plan was forming. What do you need? Day asked. Time, misdirection, and a lot of trust from our allies. You have it. As the Apex Predator Alliance approached Earth, they thought they were coming to end a rebellion. Instead, they were walking into the largest trap in galactic history. The final battle was about to begin. And humanity was ready to show the galaxy that evolution's greatest predator was not the strongest or the fastest, but the most adaptable. The combined fleet of apex predators emerged from hyperspace like a storm of death. Thousands of ships filled the void around Earth's solar system. Representing the greatest military force ever assembled in galactic history, Admiral Krextol commanded the Vorthok dreadnoughts, their hulls bristling with plasma cannons. Hive Queen Vexandra controlled swarms of Nexari hunter-killers that moved like living shadows. Alpha Prime Scarfang led packs of razor-claw destroyers, their hulls decorated with the bones of conquered enemies. Behind them all, Ethereal Vashanil coordinated the attack from his command ship, his form crackling with barely contained energy. The human homeworld lies before us, Krextol announced across the fleet communications. Today we restore the natural order. No more chaos, Vexandra added, no more disruption. The galaxy will remember why we rule. But as the massive fleet approached Earth, something seemed wrong. The planet's defenses were surprisingly light. A few orbital stations, some patrol ships, nothing that could stand against such overwhelming force. "It's too easy," Scarfang muttered. "Where are their allies? Where are the Vorthok ships that joined them?" "Perhaps they have finally learned wisdom," Krexthal suggested. "Perhaps they understand that resistance is futile." The attack began with a coordinated bombardment of Earth's outer defenses. Orbital stations exploded in brilliant flashes of light. A few human ships that rose to meet them were quickly destroyed. "Begin planetary bombardment," Vashanil ordered. "Make an example that the galaxy will never forget." But as the first bombardment waves reached Earth's atmosphere, they encountered something unexpected. The planet's surface rippled and shifted, revealing massive holographic projectors. The Earth they had been attacking was an illusion. "What trickery is this?" Krexthal demanded. His answer came in the form of Admiral Kim Dae's voice, broadcast across all frequencies. "Welcome to Earth, neighbors. Sorry about the deception, but we needed to get you all in one place." The real Earth was 3 light minutes away, protected by the largest fleet in human history. But that wasn't the trap. The trap was the asteroid belt the apex predators had used as cover for their approach. Now, Day announced, the asteroids came alive. What had appeared to be space rocks were actually camouflaged ships, weapons platforms, and automated defense systems. The apex predator fleet found itself surrounded by an enemy that had been hiding in plain sight. "All ships execute endgame protocol," Day ordered. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The apex predators had expected to fight a desperate defensive action. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a carefully prepared killing field. Human ships emerged from asteroid caves, their hulls painted to look like rock. Vorthok allies who had pretended to abandon humanity revealed themselves as the enemy's flanks collapsed. Nexari scouts who had been thought dead began jamming communications and targeting systems. "This is impossible," Vexandra screamed as her swarms were torn apart by crossfire. "How did they predict our every move?" "'Cause you never learned to adapt," came the reply from Commander Skrikstal, the Nexari queen who had chosen to ally with humanity. "You are trapped by your own instincts." Scarfang watched his packs being systematically destroyed by an enemy that fought like no species he had ever encountered. "They're not just using our weaknesses against us, they're using our strengths." Was right. Humans had studied each apex predator species and learned to turn their advantages into disadvantages. Vorthok aggression was channeled into trap-filled corridors. Nexari's stealth was countered by sensors that tracked their own. Camouflage systems, razor-claw tactics, were disrupted by false signals that confused their coordination. "Retreat," Krexthal ordered as his flagship took heavy damage. "All ships withdraw to hyperspace." But the humans had planned for this too. The asteroid field was surrounded by gravity wells that prevented hyperspace jumps. "We're trapped in a system of their own choosing. Surrender?" Day broadcast. "This doesn't have to end in extinction." "Never," Vashanil replied, his form blazing with desperate energy. "We will not submit to chaos." The ethereal began channeling massive psychic energy, preparing to launch a mental attack that would cripple every organic mind in the system. But as he reached out with his power, he encountered something that stopped him cold. Human minds. It's chaotic and unpredictable as always, but now linked together by something he had never seen before. Hope, trust, love, emotions that bound the human. Fleet together stronger than any psychic domination. "What is this?" he gasped. "Family," replied Dr. Lim Sora from her position on the command ship. "Something you never learned to understand." The psychic backlash as Vashanil's attack was reflected back on him was visible across the battlefield. The ethereal ship exploded in a cascade of energy that lit up the void, with their coordinator gone. The Apex Predator Alliance began to collapse. Ships that had fought together for the first time in their history suddenly found themselves unable to communicate or coordinate. "All ships, this is Admiral Day," came the broadcast. "The battle is over." "Surrender now, and we will treat you with the same mercy we showed your allies." One by one, the surviving Apex Predator ships powered down their weapons. The greatest military force in galactic history had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by superior thinking. In the aftermath, the galaxy watched in amazement as humans began rescue operations to save their former enemies. Vorthok survivors were pulled from burning ships. Xari wounded were treated in human medical facilities. Even Razorclaw prisoners were fed and cared for. Why? Admiral Krextel asked as human medics treated his injuries. Why show mercy to those who would have destroyed you?
As is sad.
Because that's what families do, replied Colonel Kungbo. They forgive. They help each other grow. You would make us your family. We would give you the choice to become something better than you were. 6 months later, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The new Galactic Council included representatives from every species, not just the apex predators. Trade flowed freely between worlds that had been enemies for millions of years. The Vorthok had become humanity's partners in exploration. Their advanced technology combined with human adaptability, opening new frontiers. The Nexar served as scouts and researchers, their hunting instincts redirected towards scientific discovery. The Razorclaws had become protectors of trade routes, their pack loyalty extended to all travelers. Even the Ethereals had found a new purpose. Those who survived the battle worked to undo the mental conditioning they had imposed on other species, helping them rediscover their own potential. Dr. Lim. Sora published her final report from the new research station orbiting Earth. The Apex. Predator phase of galactic evolution is over, she wrote. What comes next is something unprecedented, a civilization based on cooperation rather than domination. Admiral Day, now head of the Galactic Defense Force, stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked out at the stars. Ships from dozens of species moved through space together. No longer predators and prey, but partners in the greatest adventure in the galaxy's history. Status report, he asked his mixed species crew. All systems green, Admiral replied his pilot, a young Vorthok named Zekmora, course plotted for the Andromeda expedition. Any word from the advanced scouts? The Nexari team's report? Promising? Signs of life in 3 systems, added his science officer, a reformed ethereal. They're excited to make contact. And the Razorclaw packs? Already establishing way stations for the supply convoys. They're treating it like the ultimate pack. Hunt. Day smiled. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had revolutionized it. They had proven that evolution's greatest achievement was not the perfect predator, but the perfect cooperator. Take us to the stars, he ordered. Behind them, Earth. Hung in space like a blue jewel. No longer just humanity's home, but the birthplace of a new kind of civilization. A civilization where former enemies became family, where chaos became creativity, and where the impossible became inevitable. The galaxy's apex predators had met humans, and the balance had indeed shattered. But from the pieces, something beautiful had emerged, something that would carry all of them to heights none of them could have reached alone. The age of predators was over. The age of cooperation had begun.